Ladies and gentlemen, there comes a moment in every life, a quiet moment when the noise of the world fades and we're left alone with the truth. Not the truth others have told us, not the one shaped by fear, doubt, or pain, but the deep, powerful truth that lives in the core of who we are. You have the power to heal. Not just to survive, not just to get by, but to rise, to rebuild, to restore your body, your heart, and your spirit. Because healing isn't something done to you. It's something that begins within you. We are taught to look outward, to wait for someone to fix us, rescue us, understand us. But the great turning point, the moment when everything shifts, is when you stop waiting and you start remembering. Healing begins when you choose to trust your inner power. This is not merely a comforting idea. It is a fundamental shift in perception that rewrites how you see yourself, your challenges, and your capacity to overcome them. To believe in your inner power is to recognize that beneath the surface of pain, confusion, and doubt, there exists a source of strength that is both ancient and entirely your own. It has always been with you, waiting not to be created but to be remembered. We live in a world that teaches us to outsource our healing. From a young age, we are taught to rely on external solutions, medicine, approval, validation, advice, to fix what feels broken inside. And while support, treatment, and care are undeniably valuable, they are not substitutes for your own authority over your healing process. The truth is nothing, and no one can do the inner work for you. Others may guide you, inspire you, even carry you at times. But the turning point happens when you stop seeking power from the outside and start awakening it from within. Inner power is not always loud. It doesn't always come wrapped in confidence or clarity. Sometimes it's a whisper, just enough strength to get out of bed when the weight of grief feels crushing. Sometimes it's a quiet refusal to give up, even after failing again and again. Inner power does not look the same for everyone, but it exists in everyone. It lives beneath the wounds, under the stories we've accepted about not being enough, and within the spaces where fear once ruled. Trusting it is not about becoming instantly fearless or invincible. It's about choosing to believe that, no matter how deep the pain, there is something deeper still within you that cannot be broken. This trust is not a switch, it is a practice. You will question it, you will lose it, and you will return to it. Again and again, healing is not linear, and neither is trust. It wavers, it gets buried, it flickers when life feels dark. But it also regenerates. It grows stronger with every choice you make to keep going, even when the path ahead feels invisible. Every time you stop asking, "What's wrong with me?" and start asking, "What do I need right now?" you move closer to that trust. Every time you pause and breathe instead of numbing the pain, you say to yourself, "I am worth the effort to heal. I am worth the space to grow." To trust your inner power is also to reclaim your story. Pain has a voice, and it can be loud. It tells you you're broken, that nothing will ever change, that you are too far gone. But there is another voice inside you. It may be quieter, but it is truer. It says, "I've been hurt, but I am not defined by my wounds." It says, "I am capable of rising again." When you listen to that voice, even when your doubt screams louder, you begin to shift. You begin to see that your healing is not about fixing yourself, but about finding yourself again, beneath the layers of trauma, expectation, and fear. This inner power is deeply intelligent. Your body holds wisdom beyond what your conscious mind can always grasp. It knows how to breathe even when you forget to pay attention. It knows how to cry when something in you needs release. It knows how to tense up when danger approaches and how to soften when safety returns. Your emotions, too, are messengers, not enemies. Anger may be asking for a boundary. Sadness may be calling for rest. Anxiety may be a plea for presence. When you stop judging these responses and start listening to them, you are not giving in to your pain. You are giving power to your healing. Choosing to trust yourself doesn't mean you will always know what to do. It means you're willing to listen, to be patient, to make mistakes, and to keep showing up anyway. It means you no longer abandon yourself in times of struggle. It means you stay, even when it's hard, because you've decided your well-being is worth the effort. That choice, to stay, to care, to believe, is where healing takes root. It's in the small, consistent ways you show up for yourself, taking the walk, journaling the feeling, drinking the water, saying no, saying yes, asking for help, sitting in silence, forgiving the version of yourself that didn't know better. All of it counts, all of it matters. You may not always feel powerful. You may doubt, falter, and fall. But each time you return to yourself with compassion instead of judgment, you affirm your healing. Each time you take a step forward without knowing exactly where it leads, you reinforce your trust. Healing is not a destination. It's a relationship with your body, your heart, your history, and your future. And like all relationships, it takes time, attention, and belief. Many of us spend years distrusting ourselves, especially if we've been taught that our instincts can't be trusted, or if we've been punished for speaking our truth. So reclaiming that trust is radical, it's revolutionary, it's not passive, it's one of the most active, courageous things you can do. To stand in the mirror and say, I don't have all the answers, but I believe in my capacity to find them. That's powerful. That's healing. And the more you do it, the more the world inside you shifts from chaos to clarity, from fear to resilience. You will know you are trusting your power when you begin to honor your own pace, when you stop comparing your healing journey to others, when you stop rushing to get over it and instead ask, what is this here to teach me? That is the voice of someone who trusts themselves. That is the voice of someone who is no longer ashamed of their process. Inner power is not about perfection. It's about presence. It's about being with what is real, without flinching. It's about holding yourself with the same care you offer others. And it's about returning, over and over, to the quiet center of your being that says, you are more than what happened to you. You are more than your mistakes. You are more than your pain, and you have the capacity right now to begin again. You are not broken. You are becoming. This is not just a comforting phrase. It is a declaration of truth that reclaims your narrative from the grip of pain and shame. It challenges the deeply ingrained belief that something is wrong with you because you hurt, because you struggle, because you carry scars that others cannot see. To believe you are not broken is to choose to see your humanity not as a flaw, but as the very proof of your strength. It is to recognize that your pain is not a sign of your weakness, but a part of your evolution. For far too long, many have internalized the idea that suffering makes them less, that trauma disqualifies them from love, peace, or success, that struggling with anxiety, grief, depression, loss, or self-doubt makes them somehow defective. These beliefs are not truth. They are the echoes of misunderstanding, of a culture that values perfection over authenticity. But becoming is not about perfection. It's about process. It's about movement. It's about change, depth, and the layers of wisdom that only come from living through what once felt impossible. When you believe you are broken, you begin to act as if you need fixing, hiding, or masking. You become a version of yourself shaped by defense, by fear of being exposed, or by shame of not being enough. You begin to define yourself by what happened to you rather than by who you truly are. But when you understand that you are becoming, you give yourself space to breathe, to grow, to stumble without judgment. You allow yourself the grace to not have it all together, to feel lost sometimes, to be uncertain without assuming it means failure. Becoming is an unfolding, not a repairing. It is a transformation from within that honors all the versions of you that got you to this moment. It respects the strength it took to survive, the choices you made when options were limited, the mistakes that taught you more than success ever could. You don't need to erase those parts of yourself. You need to integrate them. You need to understand that every chapter, even the painful ones, added something essential to the story of your becoming. There is a beauty in imperfection that our world often overlooks. We are told to hide our messiness, to cover our cracks, to present only the polished version of ourselves. But the cracks are where the light gets in. The places where you've been broken open are often the places where compassion grows, where empathy is born, where resilience is forged. When you stop trying to erase the signs of struggle and start honoring them as proof of your growth, you reclaim your wholeness, not because everything is perfect, but because everything belongs. Becoming is a journey that doesn't always make sense while you're in it. Sometimes it feels like chaos, like falling apart, like confusion and grief and silence. But these moments are not evidence that you are failing, they are evidence that you are changing. Growth rarely feels comfortable. It demands that you shed old skins, outdated beliefs, and identities that no longer serve you. It often requires loss, not as punishment, but as a way of clearing space for something new to emerge. When the caterpillar dissolves inside the chrysalis, it may feel like destruction, but it is actually the beginning of flight. To say you are becoming is to acknowledge that you are not finished, that there is still room for possibility, that there is still more of you to meet, more to learn, more to awaken. It is an invitation to stay open, curious, and kind to yourself as you evolve. It reminds you that healing doesn't mean going back to who you were before the pain. It means becoming someone new, someone deeper, wiser, more rooted in truth. This version of you doesn't need to be perfect. It only needs to be honest. You are not a puzzle missing pieces. You are not a problem that needs solving. You are a living, breathing soul undergoing the sacred process of becoming who you truly are. And becoming includes breaking open. It includes moments when the weight feels too much. It includes mistakes, doubts, and days when progress looks like simply getting out of bed. It is not linear, and it does not obey anyone else's timeline. You do not owe anyone an explanation for how long your healing takes, how messy it looks, or how often you need to pause and begin again. When you stop framing your pain as a failure and start recognizing it as a portal to deeper self-awareness, you shift everything. You stop asking, "What's wrong with me?" and start asking, "What is this trying to teach me?" You stop seeing your struggles as the end of the road and begin to understand them as part of the path. Becoming means choosing to find meaning in the mess, not as a way to minimize your suffering, but as a way to extract strength from it. There is courage in embracing yourself as you are, in refusing to wait until you feel whole or worthy to show up in the world. You don't need to be healed to be worthy of love. You don't need to have everything figured out to be valuable. You don't need to erase your past to create a beautiful future. All you need is the willingness to keep becoming, to keep walking, to keep trusting that every step forward, however small, is part of something larger than you can yet see. And even when you can't feel it, on the days when doubt drowns out hope, when fatigue overshadows faith, your becoming continues. It happens in the background, in your breath, in the choice to rest instead of give up, in the moments of stillness when nothing seems to change but everything inside you begins to shift. You are growing even when it's invisible. You are healing even when you feel broken. You are becoming even when it seems like you're standing still. No part of you is too ruined, too late, or too far gone to become something beautiful. No experience has disqualified you from worthiness. No struggle has stripped you of your potential. Your becoming is not bound by your past. It is shaped by your willingness to keep moving forward, even if forward looks like crawling. Even if forward is simply choosing to believe that something better is still possible. Even if forward is whispering to yourself that you are not finished yet. You are not broken. You are becoming. You can heal yourself by trusting in the power within. These are not just words. They are truths forged in the fire of lived experience, carried by countless souls who have walked through pain and emerged with a light that could not be extinguished. They are not promises of a life without difficulty, but reminders of the immeasurable strength that lies within you, waiting not for the right moment, but for your permission. This speech has not been a lesson in external achievement or perfection. It has been a mirror held up to your own heart, reflecting the beauty, the resilience, and the potential that may have been buried under years of fear, shame, or silence. When you remember that healing begins within, you stop waiting for the world to rescue you and begin learning how to rescue yourself. You shift from asking why me to asking what now. You begin to see that your pain, though real and raw, does not define the totality of your story. It becomes a chapter, not the conclusion. Healing becomes less about erasing the past and more about understanding it. Not to stay in it, but to grow from it. You stop fearing your wounds and start listening to them. You stop judging your process and start honoring it. Because every time you choose to show up for yourself, whether through rest, truth, telling, forgiveness, or courage, you are becoming. And becoming is sacred. It is messy and non-linear. It defies expectations and disrupts timelines. It often means undoing before rebuilding. But there is no other path to wholeness. You must pass through yourself. You must meet your own eyes in the mirror, even on the days you don't recognize who you see. You must be willing to sit with your loneliness, to feel your grief, to question the stories you were told about what you are worth and what you deserve. That is not weakness, that is wisdom, and that is where transformation begins. The power within you does not need to be activated by perfection. It is not accessed through performance. It lives in the quiet and the stillness. It speaks in moments when you stop numbing and start feeling. It grows stronger when you begin to trust your body's signals, when you listen to the truth that rises up in your chest, when you finally say, "This hurts," and allow that to matter. There is no healing without honesty. There is no becoming without loss. But there is also no rebirth without surrender. To heal is to release what is no longer true and to reclaim what has always been. You were born with power, not the kind that controls others, but the kind that liberates yourself, the kind that allows you to forgive your past self, to hold space for your present self, and to imagine a future self who is not free from scars but empowered by them. This is not about escaping your humanity. It's about fully inhabiting it. Healing is not a return to some previous version of you. It is the rising of a self that has never fully emerged. It is the arrival of someone wiser, softer, bolder, someone who doesn't need to have all the answers to trust the direction they're moving in. You can heal yourself, but healing does not mean fixing. It means reconnecting. It means remembering. It means choosing again and again to believe that the pain you've known does not cancel out the joy you are still allowed to experience. It means making peace with the parts of you that once only knew how to survive and gently guiding them towards something more, toward freedom, toward joy, toward love that doesn't require you to shrink or prove or perform. You are not too late. You are not behind. You are right on time in your process. The very fact that you are here, listening, considering, hoping even a little, is evidence of life stirring inside you. Healing is not for the lucky few. It is for the willing, and willingness does not mean certainty. It means you're open. Open to trying, open to failing and trying again, open to believing in the possibility of your own growth, even when it scares you. You may carry pain that is hard to speak of. You may have memories that still make you flinch. You may have gone years numbing yourself just to keep going. But none of that disqualifies you from healing. If anything, it makes your healing that much more powerful. Because when you choose to rise despite all the reasons you could have stayed down, that's not just recovery, that's revolution. That's you rewriting the rules. That's you stepping out of cycles that were passed down or forced on you, and choosing to build something new. And when you do that, not only do you heal yourself, you heal something greater. You become an invitation for others. You become a quiet beacon of hope for someone who is still lost in the darkness, not because you are perfect, but because you are real. Because you are honest about your wounds and still walking forward. Because you remind others that healing doesn't look like a highlight reel. It looks like breathing through anxiety, like resting instead of hustling, like speaking up even when your voice shakes, like choosing to stay when it would be easier to leave, like returning to your own heart again and again until it feels like home. There will still be hard days. Healing doesn't erase the human condition, but what it does do, what trusting your power does is transform your relationship to those days. You begin to meet your pain with compassion instead of judgment. You begin to see triggers as invitations rather than threats. You begin to notice the difference between self-protection and self-abandonment, and over time, your nervous system begins to settle. Your heart begins to soften. Your inner dialogue begins to shift from criticism to care. This is not magic. It is the result of the slow, sacred work of coming home to yourself, of learning to be with your truth, however uncomfortable, and finding that even in your most vulnerable states, you are worthy of love. That is the foundation of real healing. That is the path of becoming. And so, if you take nothing else from this, let it be this. You do not need to wait until you are healed to start living. You do not need to be fearless to be free. You do not need to erase your story to write a new chapter. You are allowed to carry your past and still step boldly into your future. You are allowed to be in process and still be powerful. You are allowed to be both healing and whole, both hurting and hopeful. You are not broken. You are becoming. You can heal yourself by trusting in the power within. Keep going. You're becoming more than you know.